All right, so we're on the home page now, and you can actually edit most content just directly within the content editor. But there's some areas like this footer that if you click the pencil, then you can go in here and edit that. So looks like you've figured that out anyway because it's 2013. Um, let's go ahead and start editing, I guess, content. So if I click the gear, we can go in here to the home page, and then if you double click the slideshow, all the settings are, pretty much set right there. And then if you say, if you want to upload a new image, you would just basically click here to upload a new image. The image that's in there now, it's currently 1000 wide by 450 high. And this is something to kind of make note of, just because to keep that same aspect ratio, you'll want to have the same you'll want to have the same aspect ratio on each photo. So if possible, just go ahead and pre-crop all of your images to 1000 wide by 450 high. And then what happens is when viewing the site, then that same height will remain kind of on there. I mean, if you put like a vertical image in there, it would probably look weird. It would push everything down when it came to that particular image. So that's really the only thing that you want to be consistent about, is that the slideshow images should be 1000 by 450, 72 DPI images. Then let's see. So the other areas that show up, this area here is automatically pulled from the latest blog post, and that's going to automatically show up with each blog post. And what you do to get this content to come in there is you would go to the blog, and this is your agenda link test. So we can put a bunch of text in here. So I'll just paste some dummy text there, and then under options, you can go ahead and grab some more temporary text. And you can format this however you'd like. It's probably best to kind of keep it generic in this sense, because it's going to populate out there on the home page in that area. And I have too much content here, most likely, but let's go ahead and look and see how this is going to look. So if I hit save, then if we go navigate back out to the home page, and it might help to have two tabs open in your browser. I mean, then you can kind of go back and forth. So like right now, if I want to make another tab, then I can kind of go back and forth between kind of the admin view, and then not have to ever hit preview on there. You can just go back here and refresh each page. So you can see that this excerpt is quite long. So you could, I guess you could write it accordingly, but it looks like I just need to edit it just a little bit. So let me go back to the blog. And there's that excerpt text, which is there, and I'll just delete that out. And you can add, let's go ahead and add a little bit of formatting here. Let's put a paragraph there, just to kind of see what happens. I'll just refresh the home page. Yeah, you can see it's gonna, you may have to play a little bit with the amount of content that you put in there, but at least it'll show like the posted date and things like that. So hopefully that makes sense. But then if you click through, you'll obviously go to that blog post, that latest post, and let's go back to the home page then. then the area that's immediately below the slideshow component is just a text block. So you can go ahead and type whatever you want in there, and then this is a link that's aligned to the right. The featured content area here, it's a bulleted list or an unordered list. So basically you can just make manual links on the site. So that should be pretty easy to edit. The blog, of course, you've already been working with this. I did notice that you had embedded the code. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yep. So as long as it's an HTML block, you could probably just do the same thing. That seems to work pretty well. Now let's go on the resource center. We've discussed that. The code here is, this alert text is basically going to display for mobile users at this point, and I can show you where you'd want to disable that. So actually, if we let's go back to preview, and I'll show you how to access the style sheet area. So actually, I'll close it, and then if you click the paintbrush, you can get into styles, and then lower left, you click CSS, and it says warning, you'll break your design, whatever. So the way the custom CSS works is it's a matter of just adding overrides is what's happening. So let me close the style here. And sometimes you have to refresh when you have the CSS panel open because it's not communicating with the actual site sometimes. But it should update live whenever you're making edits. And if you're not familiar with CSS, then you might just tread lightly over here. But it's not too difficult. I've tried to label most everything in there. So some things aren't labeled just because they're so I don't know, they're just more technical, I guess. But anyway, so at the very top, I have this mobile detect script, I'm sorry, the styling for this. And so basically what I'm doing here is I've just said set this container and this image container to display none, which means it just won't display. And then we turn around and immediately say, I have a script that says, if you're on iPad, Web TV, et cetera, all the way through, both of those same blocks are represented here in the code. And then we're saying display block, which means make those visible if you are one of these devices, basically. So that's how that's going to work. So if you want to just stop using this altogether, then what you can do is just come over here and say display none, and it'll do exactly the same thing as this is doing. But this is kind of like, without having to delete it, you can just say display none, and it'll never show up. So I'll go ahead and say display block. You may be making changes on this area because it just changed. Anyway, let me go back out. You already know how to edit this area. Basically, there's the embed code that you use. So I went ahead and set the width to 100% and the height to like 800, which is pixels. And then that will adapt when resizing for various devices. I guess a couple quick notes on responsive. It's sometimes tricky to be able to deliver a site to every device, but I've tried to make the best fixes possible to go ahead and make the site visible on as many devices as possible. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So we talked about the initial design on the homepage. We wanted to do the logo here and not have it here. But I've added a script, or I've added the proper coding that when you resize the site, there won't be room for this entire thing. So you probably already noticed that when you resize it, this latest text block goes to the upper left, and then I just re-added the logo. So when you're on an iPhone or an iPad, at this point now you will see the logo when you visit the homepage, which I guess we overlooked that. But so now if you if you keep resizing it, you'll see that okay, this is probably more like iPad Mini kind of width or iPhone kind of widths. So it's going to adapt. Most people aren't going to sit there and move their browser open and close like that. But anyway, that's kind of what's happening there. So it should adapt for various devices. And again, that's handled through the custom CSS as well. The about page looks like you've already kind of, well, I guess yes, you have edited the text there. So as far as adding images, you can add like even a slideshow type gallery here, and I can show you how to do that. If you add block, and then if you say gallery, then you just drag that to where you want it. It's usually easier to do that than it is to add it, because it'll go to the bottom of the page. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and say slideshow, because and let's say autoplay. And then as far as images, I'll just go ahead and say I'll just go ahead and upload. And these are some random images here. So as these upload, you can kind of see, you either have like a gear spinning sometimes, or you have this kind of upload mode. And there's something to know. I mean, if you're going to go ahead and add more gallery images or any photos throughout the site, there's what is known as this image focal point, which is like this white circle that you'll see over top of each image. And what that does is, this is a good example, this vertical image here. So let's say that the top portion of this photo is the most important portion of it. So you just move that focal point to that area. These other ones I'm just going to keep generic. This one's not coming in for some reason, but maybe it's still loading. So I'll just go ahead and hit save. Actually, let me show you with this little concept. So if I say, I'm going to go ahead and say grid for this, and I'll use square thumbnails. So I'll show you how that works. And if I hit save now, we go preview. It's probably not a great example because this is going to be so tiny. And actually, we probably want to say lightbox. Oops. So if you double click it, then we can say lightbox. And while I'm in here, I'll just go ahead and drag this right above the map. That way it'll be a better example. So there's a series of images, and you can see that if I click on this one, this is a vertical image, and when it's viewed full screen, it'll show the entire image. When it's in the square mode, it's showing like the best focal point that we already set up. So if these are like people portraits, then you probably want to put that focal point on someone's face is probably the best way to do it, because then if you scrunch these images down, then it's always going to display the best way possible. And then these photos will also adapt to mobile. So when you scale everything down, you'll be able to keep interacting with that. All right, and guess if I want to delete that, which I do, as with any block, if you either double click it or right click it, you can say remove. But so you could actually make a like a homeowner gallery, and a good way to do that would be to create a like one gallery, or like an HTML page for each gallery that you want to use, and then you can add a gallery block, kind of like just what I did on this page, and then you could pull all those. You could link those to each gallery. So anyway, member directory, we've already figured that out. That's again another embed, and our width again is set at 100% to allow that to kind of scale a little bit. And then the other pages that aren't linked, contact your board. So I guess you've already figured these out, but so anything here in the top navigation, in any page or blog or even folder that's in this area, it will display on that top navigation. Anything in this not linked area just won't be linked. In other words, you could have a hidden file in here, and then you can link to it, but people just can't access it. Let's see, your secure resources, which I guess at this point, I'm not sure if you're going to use this area, but we can go ahead and say view. And the way that I had this set up earlier is that these are actually collection links that you can set up. So actually what these are doing is it's pulling in from these other blogs. So this governing documents journal or blog has its own, posts in it, and then meeting minutes has its own posts in them. And then what you can do is on that resource center, nope. What's the page I just, oh, there it is. Scroll down. What these are summary blocks that are added. So what you can do is you can say add a block, and then in structure mode you can add a summary block, and then let's do governing. Let's do meeting minutes again, or actually let's do blog, because it'll pull that into, and then you can dial this down to like the latest thing. You can kind of set it up that way, or you could have 5 or whatever, and then say save. And then if you view this page, you'll see that. And I think I used space blocks to add some fake margin in here. So you can actually bring in these space blocks before each area, and then you can resize those sometimes. There we go. So you can kind of do that kind of thing. If I want this to kind of match what's going on there, I could actually add, I could add another space block on the right. I guess it's at the bottom. Sometimes it doesn't come in. Space block. I'll just drag it out here to the column, and I'll do it again. All right, so I'll go ahead and I just refreshed the page. Let me go ahead and drag it over again. There we go. So by default, if this block is, if this spacer that I added on the left isn't there, then they should go like 50%. Technically, the way each of these content areas is laid out, it's a grid of 12 columns. So each one of these is broken out into 12s, or into 12ths. So then I can go ahead and make this the same width as these, and that'll work that way. And then what I've done on these is just add another text block. I can drag it down there, and I can just make a title. And let's see what I used here. H3. So it's just a matter of just piecing it together. It makes it a lot easier than any other platform to basically build out a page just like that. So you can see how easy that was to do, but you can just kind of customize your own pages, kind of do whatever you want there. So, file uploads. Let's cover that really quickly. I'm going to go ahead and delete this stuff. And there we go. So file uploads. I have this don't delete or whatever. It's not critical that you don't, because what happens with once they add a file manager, a real one, then I think this will probably change, or I don't know, maybe it'll be in addition to this. But the only real way that I've found, and that kind of the community has found, to upload images or files and link to them in another location is to basically file upload. I mean, you just make text, highlight the text, select files, go ahead and grab a file, and it's just an image file right now. But what we're doing right now is we're linking to that. So then if I view this page, what I've done is I've applied a link to this actual file. So I can click that, and then I can grab this big long URL and say copy. I'll go back. So if I wanted to use this somehow, I'll just use this same page as an example. And since no one will ever see this page, it's just kind of like a sandbox area. But if I say, if I want to do it custom now, where I know I have that image somewhere on the system, I can do it in a couple different ways. I can say, grab the file, and I shouldn't have to upload it again, actually. But so if I highlight that text, and then I can go ahead and hit link, and then if I hit content, it should be in there. Oh no, files. I mean, existing file. And there's the one I just uploaded. So I could do it that way, or you can obviously do it again. And I could paste that whole thing on there. So a couple of different ways to do it, but once the files are in there, you can go ahead and grab those out and use them later. But so if you wanted a whole series of documents, then it'd be basically kind of doing what I've kind of done here, just in a very manual way. But you could use those again in another blog post. So it is possible. The only problem with that is there is no real file manager. So if that file had changed, or if there were updates to it, and you wanted to upload a new one, then you'd have to go link everything back to that. So anyway, I'll just go ahead and delete those. And you can delete all these at this point. I mean, like even if I'm using this browser detection script, which I am, I'm using that on the site. You can delete all this stuff, and it'll still work. It's just a matter of finding the link to it after it's uploaded. So if you have any questions, certainly let me know. But I think this covers about everything you'll need to do. All right, thanks.